You're listening to I Love It When, and I'm your host, Mo. I'm a speaker, coach, and connector. You're in the right place if you're looking for some inspiration and you're ready to truly embrace who you are. My intention with this podcast is to help you see that you are so much more powerful than you realize. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of I Love It When. Wow, I almost just said finally clicked, which is the old podcast that I had at Pickett Street Properties. That's so funny. Well, I'm really excited, and I probably said finally clicked for this reason. I'm excited today to introduce you to this guest, Chelsea Rose. So I met Chelsea back in probably 2018, 2017, when I was introduced to her through her stepdad, actually, as a possible yoga instructor for a retreat that I was having. But I had heard of Chelsea back when I first joined Pickett Street in November 2012. I met her mom. Her mom was our team leader at the Keller Williams in Bothell, Washington. And she was very well known, extremely well loved. And I knew immediately when I heard about her that there was something special about her. And so it was just so synchronistic that years later, I would talk to Chelsea. And the first time I called her, I don't know if I've actually told her this, I was sitting in my car next to a place called Green Lake here in Seattle that I like to go and walk. And I don't know why I was feeling emotional that day, but I was on the phone with her and I just started to cry. And I was, I think, so touched by how much her mom had meant to everyone. And then she has just such a lovely presence and energy. And I was so excited to have her uh, coming to my retreats and sharing her presence with everyone. So I've been waiting for the right time to have Chelsea on the podcast, and this feels absolutely, absolutely like the right time. Here's a little bit about Chelsea, the 411 on her. She is an accomplished entrepreneur with a sincere desire to help others by sharing what she has learned. She's a mother of five, a wife, a yoga therapist, and founder of Wildwood Yoga Studio in Granite Falls, Washington. Chelsea runs yoga teacher trainings, retreats, she does private sessions, and hosts workshops. So if you're anywhere near Granite Falls and interested in either becoming a yoga teacher or attending some yoga yourself, I highly recommend her studio. I've been there several times myself, and it feels amazing to be not only in her presence, but in the presence of everyone who attends the classes. All of her teachers are amazing. It's really incredible. So in this episode today, we talk about divine appointment, which is a new phrase I learned from her today that I really love. And it's when certain situations happen in your life or people show up and it feels like it's divinely orchestrated. So she shares about her first divine appointment at 15 years old when her right kidney was shutting down just out of nowhere. She talks about what she offers at Wildwood Yoga Studio, her one-to-one sessions, her next retreat in Montana in August. By the way, there are 2 spots left as of now. So when this episode comes out, if this sounds like something you want to do, I would contact her immediately. I believe she said it's $750 each, which is an amazing price. That covers your meals and all of the different things that take place at the retreat. And then we talk a little bit about how she defines intuition and uses it in her everyday life and teaches it to other people. So you're in for a real treat. She's one of my favorite people. So please leave us comments on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Please share this episode with your friends and family. Chelsea is someone who is truly of service to the world, and I would like for as many people as possible to get to know her a little bit. So enjoy. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of I Love It When. I'm really excited today to introduce you to a friend of mine, Chelsea Rose. I can't wait for you all to experience her magic and so many of the stories and the things that I know that are just going to flow from today. So, Chelsea, would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes.
Anything and everything.
Margaret, first of all, just thank you for having me. I have loved following you the last couple of years, and you do bring so much grace and gumption to life for everyone you're around. So
Thank you.
pleasure's mine. So I am a local to the Pacific Northwest. I am the founder of Wildwood Yoga Studio and the mother of five. Um, yeah, I just love living a holistic, wellness focused life. I think there's a balance between being healthy in your body and healthy in your mind that only enhances your experience in life. And I love to share that and share the tools I've collected along the way with others so that they can live fully in their bodies and enjoying their minds. I think that's a gift.
Oh, I love just the way that you put that there at the end to get people to a place. I think what I've realized through coaching more and more these last 4 years is that so many people have a hard time getting into their bodies and feeling comfortable, and they just live all in their minds. And so I love the way that you said that, so you can enjoy your mind. Like it's not such a place or such a trap where I think sometimes people feel stuck.
Yeah, I think our culture, our schooling, a lot of it kind of hardens your mind and creates barriers of how authentic you can really be in your body and communicating with others, and to yourself. Sometimes it's more like a prison for people. So I think getting them out of that, letting go of, oftentimes we have like a judgmental voice,
Hmm.
which is natural. It's natural to analyze your surroundings, right? That's survival mechanism. That's there for a
Yeah.
reason. But when it overtakes you and you can't share and you can't go places, that's when it doesn't help. It hurts. And
Hmm.
shedding that layer can be so healing for people. So I
Hmm.
love that you're coaching. I love that you know this and that you care about it. I think if everyone can grasp that tool, they'll just fit better in their body.
Totally. Totally. Well, would you share with us what got you to this place of wanting to have a yoga studio and be so invested in learning about the body and all these different things that you do?
Yeah, I would say God, right? That just natural flow of life if you follow the breadcrumbs. And mine happened to be, I woke up in the hospital. I was really young, probably 15 or 16 years old in high school, and my right kidney had shut down. They had no idea what was wrong with me. And that just really sent me on a spiral of learning about the body and the mind and how to heal the body. Um, and I kept finding and reading about yoga. And every time I practiced, I would feel better in my body. This headphone just does not want to stay in. um, and someone said, you should open a studio, and it just kind of spiraled from there. Every little thing I've met, the teachers I've met along the way, and as you know, you just have things come up in your path, and you're like, okay, I'll save money for my studio. Well, I can't find any spaces. I guess I'll go travel. Oh, I come back and somebody calls me and says, hey, I heard you're looking for a space. I have a space open. You want to rent it? Okay, I guess the timing was 5 years later. I was 5 years early. So
Yeah.
I think things just have a way of working out. And I'm really big in, if you're feeling comfortable in your body and mind, you'll see those things and you'll start to flow with them a little more
Hmm.
gracefully. And
Hmm.
for me, that's really happened. And the more I just relax and let go and practice holistic living and well being, the more things just seem to flow. And I'll get these ideas in my business for my family, and they'll just all like, and I think that's God, like that's the spirit. And I believe we all are connected and we all have that guidance. We just kind of forget it or block it out sometimes.
Hmm. So do you think that I think one of the reasons why I reached out to you now, because I've been planning on having you on the podcast for a while, but you had shared something on Instagram talking about this experience with your right kidney failing, and I was like, why have I not heard this story? That is intense to go through at 15, 16 years old. That is a lot um, for a teen to experience and go through. What do you think? Um, I don't know what got you through it the most. Was it the reading about the body and yoga in that moment that just felt like you were able to take action in something?
No, I think that was a divine appointment. So previously, before this, I was raised in kind of the low economic standpoint. My biological father's an addict, abuse, so my mind was really muddled. I was around a lot of recklessness. My mom was doing the best she could, and she started doing her personal work and kind of growing throughout that season, and ended up meeting my stepdad and doing better. But I still came from a lot of trauma. And so I started connecting with that more, like going out and drinking way too young. And so then all of a sudden, think it's a hangover. I'm like, oh, I must have drank too much last night. And then all of a sudden, I'm throwing up and my fever's getting big. My mom's like, should I take you to the hospital? Finally, the breaking point, I was in the bathtub and she comes in, and I had been in there for hours throwing up. I looked down and I still remember seeing clear water, but the water was green. And I'd have like these flashes of in between. I didn't know who she was. She called the hospital. They came and got me, picked me up in an ambulance, and they were like, swore I was on drugs, I wasn't. And so previously to that moment in time, I had just like, what's this world anyways? What's the point? Like, people are physically abusive, verbally abusive. You're just supposed to like numb yourself with drugs and drinking. Like, I was fine with going away from this world. It wasn't like a great place to be in my realm anyways. And then I remember sitting in the hospital bed. They don't know, they've diagnosed me 3 different times, given me medicine. I just keep getting sicker and sicker. I'm looking at a painting and I'm thinking it's a window. And then I'm just like, God, please let me stay. Like, I didn't get it until now, but like, I want to be of service. I want to participate and I want to enjoy life. And in that moment, that was kind of the pitfall. And then it was just the upswing. It was like, okay, we're going to try this surgery. We're going to put her in this book of like unsolved mysteries and let's start doing some x-rays. And then things started happening and they're like, take these pills, they might thin your blood. You might not be able to have kids. And I was just like, when I got home, flushed them in the toilet, and I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm done drinking. I'm done partying. I'm done like with this misery lifestyle. I just want to dive into something else. And so I think for me, it was just like I needed that. It was a divine appointment. It was an awakening. I would like to think that like I had a greater calling and God knew I needed something to kind of shake me, to break me away. And I'm so, so thankful. Like, that saved my life. My sisters are drug addicts to this day. I have adopted both of their kids. And so the trajectory of my life could be so different if I didn't have that experience, that I have so much reverence for it.
I love that you call that a divine appointment. I haven't heard that phrase like that before, and that really sticks out to me. I can remember so many different ways in which I've had divine appointments, or I feel like things like that have happened in order to prompt me down a different path. And I love that you mention just making the decision, like, I no longer want this, I want something else. And I feel like I've talked to so many people, and I actually had this in a keynote that I gave a couple months ago, where making the decision is like the first step. Because at some point you just have to decide, like, am I going to go further down into this rock bottom of wherever I'm at with whatever is going on in my life, or I'm going to make a decision to do something different. And you have to. There's just no other way around it, because you're the only one that can control your actions, your thoughts, what you're doing next. So I love what just how you described that.
It's very like the hero's journey. Have you heard of?
Hmm.
And so you
Hmm.
get a call to action.
Yeah.
And I think that's right. And I even love, and not to debate, just on a side note of
Hmm.
the concept of, we do get to control our
Hmm.
thoughts, and our thoughts do generate
Hmm.
our actions are behavior, and that encompasses your reality.
Hmm.
However, when you're groomed in such harsh environments, and the
Hmm.
schools practice this, you don't. you are
Yeah.
you are in such survival that you're unable to see, you're unable to, it's not a choice, it's just,
Hmm.
how do I eat, how do I sleep, how do I survive this?
Hmm.
And so I debate how, how conscious we can be. I think the first step is becoming stable.
Hmm.
And when I work
Hmm.
with people, that's what I see. And I tell them, like, we're just going to start to work physically on some movement, some breath, on eating good, maybe like changing some thoughts in our lives. Like in yoga, we have the 8 limbs, which is just kind of
Yeah.
a way of living. And if you live in these barriers, you might feel better mentally and physically. And so we try them on. Let's do it for a week, see how you feel. And then people, oh, well, this is starting to come up. Well, this is starting to come up. Oh, how beautiful your brain feels safe enough to expose these
Yes.
traumas, these patterns, that we can shape them now and shift them. Because your mind wants to heal itself, but oftentimes
Yeah.
we're not becoming stable enough to let it, oh, this is really what's happening here.
Hmm.
And so I definitely love that mind body connection. And I'm a
Hmm.
big believer that like finding that stability to actually control your thoughts,
Hmm.
and getting that piece in there first.
Hmm.
And the schools do that. They make sure, like, the kids who don't get fed, they make sure they come in, they get free breakfast so that they can learn, because they've understood that these
Yeah.
kids can't even learn if they're coming out off of really hard places.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that just reminds me of I often talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs too, and how the bottom of the triangle talks about you need physical safety. Do you have a shelter? Do you have food? Do you have water? Because if not, you can't even go to the top layers of the triangle. There's no point. You're in survival. Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And in different seasons, different things trigger us for survival. It's a great
Hmm.
place to be. And I think that conversation is really important because the parasympathetic is getting so much praise these days. Like, let's
Hmm.
get into the parasympathetic, which is amazing. People need to learn how to get into it, how to trigger it within themselves because we have been so overburdened by work and fast paced life. However, the sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight, is such a healthy part of
Hmm.
ourselves. It
Hmm.
doesn't need to be cut out or abandoned. It needs to be honored and loved on because that is a part of us, and it provides us with the ability to sit here and communicate, the ability to go on stage and perform. That
Hmm.
call to action, you get triggered, and that's the survival mechanism that's giving you the energy to pull yourself out of the trauma, out of the bad patterns, and say, like, hold on, let's reevaluate. No more, I'm done with this.
Hmm.
And so I
Yeah.
think in yoga, at least, I'm like, let's enjoy this. Like, I can't take this pose, it sucks. Like, enjoy that
Yeah. Yeah.
frustration just for a second. Just enjoy
Yeah.
it. Like, celebrate
Yeah.
that you have this mechanism that like will push you forward when you want to give up and life gets hard.
Oh, totally. It's all like I always tell people like your body's just always talking to you, and I love that I love the way you put things, and I think that's one of the reasons why I've loved having you at the retreats that I have because the way you approach things, like even earlier when you just said, "Oh, isn't that beautiful?" What you learned from doing that thing for a week, like, isn't that beautiful that that felt safe enough to come up? And I think when people hear that, they're like, "Oh, wait, what? That was a good thing," and it helps them reframe healing themselves, and that it can be with more ease and more like acknowledgement of the beauty of it, that your body's talking to you and trying to tell you something.
And I love that you say that it like that because that's such a different way to say the same thing. And I would even go like, us mirroring each other. And I
Hmm.
think that we find that resonance in each other, and that's
Yeah.
why we have such easygoing conversations because we're very
Yeah.
similar in that spirit. I love the way
Totally.
you say things. I'm like, oh yeah, I get it when you say it like that. So thank you for saying that.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. Can we talk about your mom for a second? Because your mom is totally like how I originally got connected to you, and I'm always thinking about her, especially when I see you pop up on social media. But even outside of that, randomly she'll come into my mind, and she had such a beautiful spirit that I knew the minute I joined the Keller Williams Bothell office. Oh, there's something special about this woman before I'd even met her because of how other people felt and the emotions that they expressed. So when you started to go on this journey after your kidney, did you connect with your mom in a different way, like as she was going through her personal growth?
110%. And
Okay.
um that is my kind of one of the lessons I give people is like, my mom was the game changer of her family. She came from abuse. I would say of every there's like a five different trauma abuses, and if you have all five, you usually are completely shut down. And she
Hmm.
had all five in her childhood, and she was kind
Wow.
of made as the black sheep because she wanted to do some self-healing. And what comes with that is boundaries and the truth and pulling things out from the rug, and it's not always beautiful.
Hmm.
And so I got to witness her go through that processing with her sisters and her family, and go from living in people's basements with her three daughters to building the house of her dreams. To all of a sudden, she was, my biological father was super abusive, and she started giving women $5,000, $10,000 to get out of abusive relationships and
Wow.
to get their own places. And I know that meant so much for her. So she really showed me through her walk of life that if you change, like if you face your trauma and you change the way you think, you change the way you process, your life will change. Like it will show up. I
Hmm.
watched my mom's life change. Like, and so we connected in that way. She was very spiritual in the sense of we would go to church every Sunday, but she's like, it's your choice. If you want to walk with Jesus, walk with Jesus. Like that's between you and him, but I'm gonna go. When I found this book on chakras, I'm like, Mom, why didn't you teach me about energy? This is your book. And she's like, if you're meant to learn about it, you're meant to learn about it. Like, I'm here with you on this path, but you're not supposed to do everything I do the way I'm supposed to do it.
Oh, I love that.
I was like, Mom, I prayed this pray and I made this happen. I'm creating my reality with my mind. And she started laughing. She was like, oh, you're just figuring that out? She's like, that's cute. Well, make sure it's good for everybody, not just yourself, or you're not going to have that power anymore. I was like, I would, one day I was like, nobody talks about energy. And I was upstairs curling my hair for work. And she was like, well, what if you believed that everybody did? And I was like, ugh, whatever. And she like walked out and I'm like, okay, just for today, I believe everybody talks about energy. No, seriously, no one talked about it before this. I went in my first table, I was waitressing, says, wow, your energy is way up here, just coming down. And it was this sensei and his master was like this. I was so blown away.
Wow.
And so she embodied it. She taught me, she proved it to me. We were definitely, yeah, like soul partners in life. And
Mm-hmm.
I just love her so much. And I love that you know her. I love that you know her. I love meeting people that knew her because she was
Yeah.
such a bright light. She was such a beautiful, she
Yeah.
is such a beautiful soul on the other side.
Yeah. And I think it's important too for people to know, like, when they've made an impact on you. And so I didn't get a chance to tell her this directly, but I've told other people. She said something to Jesse before I started at Pickett Street that I'll never let go of. She said he showed her my resume and he said, what do you think about this girl? Should I hire her? And she looked at my resume. Your resume only says so much, but she must have sensed something. And she said, oh, this girl's going to change the real estate industry. Yeah, you absolutely should hire her. And I was like, well, how does she know that? What does she sense? And it made such an impact on me because whether or not it's true, right? Like you just said, we get to believe it. And from that day forward, I believed it, that I was going to have the ability to make a change in some way, even if I didn't know how. And so I've taken that and shared that with other people because I want them to know, like, the words that you speak on other people and on yourself really do make a difference. Like, they shift things. And once you believe the power of your words, nothing is impossible.
I love that. And she was so good at speaking into people.
Hmm.
And Maya Angelou says something along the lines of like, if we could weigh words, you would walk into a space and you could feel them, but the energy is always there. And having that analogy of like when you walk into a space where people have been fighting, you can feel in that
Yeah.
space something's different. And there is a weight to words.
Hmm.
And so we do need to be mindful of how we communicate what we say to others. But she was also brass in the sense of like, I would have some friends over or something, and she would just shoot them straight. Like, hey, you need to knock this off. You're doing this. Hey, you're never going to be good with money if you keep acting like this. Like, and I was, so taken aback. But people loved it. They
Yeah.
appreciated that honesty,
Hmm.
and she was just so much loving. And so I think that they complement each other. When you have someone being honest, but they're still holding you with love, then you're able to
Hmm.
receive it. You
Hmm.
don't get
Hmm.
defensive and block it out.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Well, I'm wondering, I want to move more back into your studio and kind of what you're doing now. Something else that you mentioned on that Instagram reel that I was like, why have I not asked Chelsea about this? You were sharing like what kind of sessions you do with people, what kind of work you do with people one-on-one. So could you talk a little bit about your studio, what you offer there, and then what you do one-on-one with people too?
Yeah, absolutely. So one-on-one sessions are amazing. I think I opened up my schedule and just same prayer to God. Whoever needs me, let them show up. And people would just hear, "Oh, I've heard about you, but can I just work in private with you?" Or, okay, yeah, let's work. And I've always just done it that way. And anytime my schedule opens, someone just contacts me, and they usually don't even come to the yoga studio, don't even know me out in the world. Like and I just trust that process. And so how I do a session is usually with my teacher trainings, or if I have in between clients and availability, I'll let someone into my schedule and trust that they're meant to be. They show up, I ask them a series of questions, and their conscious awareness is usually like, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what I'm working with. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, let's just talk about what do you think is important right now in your life? And they'll kind of just start to open up. Well, then subconsciously, other words will come through and those will have like stronger vibrations. And then I'll ask questions around them, like, oh, notice how you said it this way. Well, if I asked Susie how she walked to the ice cream shop yesterday, she wouldn't have used those words. So the fact that you're using these words tells me there's something beneath the surface here.
Mm.
And does this resonate with you? And we'll kind of go back and forth, and then we'll get a bigger picture of what's really going on. Usually there's some tears shed. And we go into some energy work. So I'll just kind of lie them down, relax them, maybe do some reflexology, some just tension release, some energy Reiki work. And then I might pick something up. And if I do, I'll usually say, like, hey, I'm kind of seeing you huddled up in a corner, like on your left leg. Does this resonate with you? Oh my gosh, yeah, I've been feeling this way lately. Or like, hey, I keep hearing like past life or something. And I don't really work with that, but does this maybe resonate with you? Oh my gosh, like I've had this weird feeling come up lately, and it's not connected to anything. I don't understand. Okay, well, let's go back into a meditation, and I'll ask you some questions, and we'll see if you can answer it for yourself. And so then I take them into a guided meditation, and we're both talking here. I'll usually use their word if I need them to give me some feedback to switch the guidance. And through that, they discover things about whatever was showing up or what they need to do going forward. You know, some people, it's just about confidence. So it's more about envisioning yourself walking into a room and feeling the room look at you, and they feel relaxed and excited to see you, and you receiving that. And by just envisioning it, you start to walk in that way. You start to see that, okay, this could be a reality. I could feel calm in a room. And so we'll do that. And that I give them some sort of uplifting focus before we leave, because I don't believe in exposing raw wounds and then, time's up, gotta go.
Yes.
Yeah, and so everybody's a little different, and it started with my teacher training. I had this one woman just relentlessly asking me to train her, and I was like, hey, I don't do that. She was like, no, I only want to be trained by you. Finally, I was like, okay, this is a God thing. Fine, I'll train you. I guess I'm supposed to. And she kept saying, I don't know. Like, we'd been practicing the sequence for a couple months, and we would get to number 4 pose, and she'd say, I don't know. And I'm like, how do you not know? Like, we've literally done this for 3 months straight. You have notes on it. Like, and then it hit me in that moment, the intuition, God's ways. There was something she didn't want to know. And not knowing was better than knowing. And that's been her story ever since.
Wow.
And so I said, Kate, let's stop. We're just going to go into a meditation. I said, lay down. We're going to figure out what you didn't want to know. She calls me the next day and she said, you will not guess how much I remember. She said, I know so much about my life that I've never thought before. And I called my brother. I was telling my brother, and he was like blown away. And she came and taught the sequence. No problem. And
that right there, that is like a beautiful story to illustrate the power of doing work like that intuitively and not knowing what's going to come up, but just following guidance. That's amazing.
Excuse me, but yeah, it's that, and I feel like that is, so everyone has that. My mom would say, like, don't feel special. Everybody's connected. Everybody has all the gifts. It's just like, if you're going to work out your biceps, you'll have bigger biceps.
Yeah.
And you have to work to be in tune.
Yeah. And how cool that you went for so many months doing that pose, and still after 3 months, and then finally, boom, like, and that's why she was so insistent on wanting to work with you. There was something about, they knew this is going to happen. And Chelsea needs to be there.
Yeah, First Spirit knew, like, no, this is the girl to do it. She's going to be a safe place for me. And my spirit knew, like, you know what? You're not going to probably do your own training. You'll just float and do whatever you want. So you need someone to, like, push you to make you make a training. And we came together and both blossomed in that way. And I've seen that same thing time and time again. People come to my trainings. I can't talk in front of people. I don't feel safe in my body. And then we do. And so that's why I started tethering my sessions. Instead of taking open clients, I'll just like, okay, I've got enough people here. I just need to keep taking them deeper. So we do group work, and then we do private sessions to go even deeper. And if something comes up in the group, I might say, like, hey, I love that. We need to go deeper there. So why don't we just message me, and we're going to set up a private session, and we're going to focus on that, because there's some meat there that we can't do with 10 other people right now, but let's work on that. And the transformations, like, is incredible. And so I've just had that flow, and then they'll sign up for the next training, and they won't even for the yoga. They're just like, when I took your last training, I got a new house, or this changed my life, my relationship changed my life. So now I need to get to that next layer. And I'm like, okay, like, let's train, this is what's come up for me in meditation to do.
I love
this
that.
is what I'm focusing on.
So this is like separate from yoga teacher training. This is just a workshop, that almost like a small group coaching in a way.
Yeah, this is yoga teacher training.
It is yoga teacher training.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I've done it like even on retreats. People will come on my retreats and we'll get to talk. Like I can't help myself because we'll get to talking and I'll
Yes.
be like, okay, yeah, something's happening here and you're not
Yeah.
seeing your true self. You've been blocked. So like, you know what, at lunch today, let's sneak off to my room if you don't mind just laying on my bed and we'll do some energy work, a little meditation, see what comes up. And like, I'll go with that person, we'll do some work and then bam, they'll have this experience and we'll chat about it. And then they'll write me later. And so it's just that I totally give it all to God. It's not
Yeah.
me. It's just that that prayer from being sick in the hospital bed of like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I'll serve. I'll be an open vessel and I'll work with people who you bring to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that love of like, I want everybody to feel comfortable in their
Mm-hmm.
bodies, in their mind, in their spirit. I lived not being comfortable. I know how horrible it can be. And I know the weight of trauma. And so if I can alleviate that for one person, like
Mm-hmm.
that brings so much joy to my spirit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. As I've been getting more into the healing community myself and I meet different people from all over, I always love asking, "Hey, have you worked with Chelsea Rose?" And like most of the time it's a yes. Like most of the time the people that I run into have trained with you in some way, shape, or form. And it's so beautiful because then I'm like, "Oh, cool. We're good." Like like they learned so much from you and I can sense also the confidence that is instilled with them through you and I can see how I mean, just a lot of different yoga teachers that I've met, you have to go up and be in front of a class and go with confidence, go with your intuition and be confident that what's coming through you at times is exactly what's supposed to be there. Yeah.
And
So
that
it's
is
really
such
beautiful
a
to see.
gift. Thank you. And we
Hmm.
get that in so many different ways, right? There's the
Hmm.
spiritual confidence of being able to lean into and say whatever's on your heart, even though it
Yeah.
may pull some strings on people, but
Yeah.
say it anyways. And then there's the confidence to move your body and like touch people and move their bodies. Like that's a
Hmm.
big one for people, that ability to touch someone, even if it's just like a pressing on their low back when they're in
Oh
child's
yeah.
pose, like it takes a lot. And that's why I love the training as the platform for personal growth, because even if
Hmm.
you don't want to teach yoga,
Hmm.
there's still so many layers that we focus on that are going to be beneficial for you and your human body, your family and friends. Like
Yeah.
there's so many people that will ask you for things, and you can always gain knowledge and shift. And so
Yeah.
I love confidence. I think that's a huge one. I had a really
Yeah.
harsh older sister who told me like just horrible things and about me, and she was just really hard on me. And so confidence was something I really struggled with.
Mm-hmm.
And I journaled a ton, and I just committed to like brainwashing myself and then taking leadership courses. And it was so funny because I told my husband when we got together, I was like, no, I really brainwashed myself to be this confident. And he was like, no, you didn't. And I was like, yeah, I've journaled for like, if you look at my journals, you'll see. And one day we're like, 8 years into being together. And one day I come home and he's like, hey, I got to tell you something. I'm like, what? He's like, I read some of your journals. And I was like, okay. And he's like, you really brainwashed yourself. I was like, dude, I told you. But we all need it. Like our
Hmm.
culture tells us you're
Yeah.
not good enough, so buy this
Yeah.
product. And so nobody ever rewrites that for us. And so
Hmm.
in a 4-month program, you rewrite your own affirmation, you say it as a group in front of people, we
Hmm.
continuously empower you and throw words into you, like that
Hmm.
builds so much confidence. And then you're willing to like make a call in your life and go for it.
Yes.
And so I think there's a balance to that. I would love if it was natural in schools, like they had
Hmm.
confidence
Hmm.
courses. I think that would be,
It'd
so
be huge.
beneficial.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, I love that you said that about the affirmations and about brainwashing yourself because I think sometimes people underestimate the power. Well, they do underestimate the power that they have themselves and just the repetition of it because you're right. Like we just get inundated with all these messages. Well, we can inundate ourselves with our own content. We can choose what we want to have on repeat. And so that's such a game changer. Yeah.
And that leads to everything, right? Because your
Yeah.
thoughts become your actions are your
Yeah.
patterns are your reality. And so,
Yeah.
like, why not just spend a few months and really focus on it? Really just try to brainwash yourself. Like, what's the
Hmm.
worst that can happen? You start thinking you're the shit. Wow, that's going to be bad. Like, that's great. Good for you. Get it.
Yeah, yeah. So how often do you do these teacher trainings?
Yeah, so I do one 200-hour a year, and then
Okay.
now I'm kind of integrating one 300-hour a year.
Okay.
And then I'll take one private a year. So that's for people that have harder schedules. It allows me a lot of flexibility because it's just a one-on-one or maybe a 2 or 3-on-1. And I'm usually like, all right, if we need to cancel, we need to cancel. Like, this, I don't want this to be strict because it's in my extra time, and my boundaries with my family are pretty strict. Like, I want to be there as much as possible. I only like working 2 days a week. If I have to work 3 days a week, I'm like at my limit. I only do that once a month. And so that's been pretty good for me. I like that pace, and I think I'll keep it there. But I always love the small groups. I love the big groups because people chime in and there's so many different people from different walks of life. But there's something really intimate about taking on a private and knowing that, okay, just this one person and I are going to have a lot more sessions instinctively than these 10 people. I'm going to have to book it out. But they'll also feed off each other in other ways. And so there's always the pros and cons. And I just believe, people are synergetically interconnected. Whoever is meant to come together to learn, just like that woman and I had a divine appointment, they all have the divine appointments with each other, and they're going to fill the space. And I just lean into that, and I really, tell them that, and I instruct, like, hey, you guys are learning and mirroring so much from each other. Like, lean into these relationships. What are these people sent to show you right now about yourself?
Yeah. That's
Have
so
you ever
true.
taken PSI courses, Personal Success Institute?
No, but you've told me about them before. And I have it like in the back of my mind that at some point I want to do that.
The guy who created it, he passed away, and then I think they sold the company. So I'm not sure how it goes now. But it was the one thing that my mom had, she was like, if you do any sort of trainings, this is the one I would do. And she had done a bunch of different things. So I did all their trainings, and I loved his idea. And he was the same, like, it came to him in a meditation, and then he wrote like a manuscript on how to live your life intuitively, and kind of just helped people to break through their barriers. So
Hey, I'm popping in for a moment to let you know that if you're interested in working with me one-on-one in a small group, or you'd like to attend one of my upcoming retreats, please reach out or add yourself to my email list. You can go to iloveitwhen.org and scroll to the bottom where you'll see there's a spot to sign up. I also love to speak, teach, and create experiences for small, medium, or large-sized companies. If you know someone that I should know, please connect us. I'm looking to utilize I Love It When to create global change, and that will require collaborating with all of you. You're all so much more powerful than you realize. Remind yourself of that today. Now, I know you also have a retreat coming up in Montana. Can you tell everybody a little bit about that?
Oh man, Flathead Lake is one of the largest and cleanest lakes in the United States, which is amazing. It has so many rivers coming in and out of it. It has like a natural filtration process.
Wow.
And so the rocks are like maroon and teal blue, and it's just so beautiful. I think the lake itself is so healing. And then every day we're doing yoga, energy work, sound baths. We do like a fire ceremony, jump in the lake. It's so fun. It's so almost like a sisterhood, like reclaiming that sisterhood. I think a lot of women, because we were for so long competitive, right? Like your parents had to marry you off and they couldn't afford to feed you. And so we were harsher with each other, and that lineage, that ancestral trauma is still there sometimes, or we have women trauma from school or from our siblings. That really just the healing of women coming together intentionally is so amazing. And to witness those conversations that unfold and how people shift and they become those lifelong friends. And not a lot of people have a community that's focused on health and wellness. And so I think having a friend in your corner who you can have those conversations with when you go back home is always helpful.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I always feel like I always tell people that after retreat experiences to use the people in the group to help integrate what you've learned back into your life, because it can be so hard to go home and like nobody's speaking the same language, people aren't thinking about the same things, and sometimes you can fall back into old patterns. So it's really helpful to have those people to lean on.
Absolutely, absolutely. And usually, not everyone does yoga, or not
Yeah.
everyone is comfortable or makes all organic, healthy food every night. And so just taking that weekend away to pour love into your body and mind, I mean, all the benefits that come through that are amazing. And as a mom of 5, hello,
Yes.
I would, feeding 10 women, piece of cake. They all love it. They appreciate it. Feeding 5 kids, they're like, I don't eat this. I actually don't like my potatoes cooked like this. I'm like, okay, well, so that just brings joy to my heart.
Yeah. Do you still have spots available for that? If
We
people are
do.
listening?
We have 2 beds
Okay.
left. I don't know when this
Okay.
goes out.
This should go out the like third week of July, so soon.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So 2
Mhm.
spots left. They're $750,
Okay.
includes the bed, meals, all the workshops, right on
Wow.
Flathead Lake. And it's amazing. Yeah. Feel free to message us and
Okay.
stop on by.
Cool. Now you've talked about this a little bit, but I always like to ask this of people that come on the podcast because everybody, like you said earlier, we use different words, we say things differently. And so I'm curious how you define what intuition is.
I would say like it's it's a tough thing to define.
It
God's
is.
voice, the breadcrumbs, the little nudges. I have I would say boundaries or guidelines. Like if I think about it 3 times, then I do it.
Oh, that's a good
If it
one.
and so it kind of shows me like,
Hmm.
is this necessary to say? Is this necessary to pursue? Because I am an entrepreneur, I have a bunch of ideas. I help a lot of different people and talk to a lot of different people, but I don't need to say everything or share everything for them
Hmm.
or for me. So that's my guideline there. And just trusting and listening to, like, if I get a bunch of energy to start writing out an outline or on a course or an idea or how I want my training to go, because I'm always learning new tools, then follow that energy, just do it, write it out. And then maybe 3 days later, I'm teaching and I pull that page out, and all of a sudden I'm teaching this thing that just showed up out of nowhere. And
Hmm.
it's exactly what they needed. And you can't really plan that. I can't say, like, oh,
Yeah.
before class, let me go in early and get this genius idea. So like that to me is God's voice. That to me is intuition,
Hmm.
and just following those polls as often as I can,
Hmm. I
living
love
in
that.
that flow. Yeah. And I think it shows
Yeah.
up in different ways. It could be a feeling, it could be something I hear, something I see. Like I'll look at somebody and then I'll just feel like they're not willing to share it, but I almost have to just keep staring at them across the circle and like, what's going on? Like there's something going on here. Are you ready to talk about it, or what's going on? And then they'll start to open up, they'll start to cry, like, oh, I didn't want to say anything. I'm like, well, please do. Like, please
Yeah.
allow us to be
Yeah.
with you in this. We feel it, we see it. So you might as
Hmm.
well. So I think intuition is, I don't know, I would just say your natural guidance system that
I love that.
everyone has.
Hmm.
And it's your choice if you want to tune into it or not.
Hmm.
And there's certain things that probably help you live more in alignment with that.
Hmm.
And there's certain things that probably make you a little more cloudy. And that's okay. You're a human. Do all the things, go full spectrum. Don't box
Yeah.
yourself in. You don't need to be intuitively shifting all the times. I think enjoy being a human,
Yeah.
enjoy the full spectrum of living. You don't know what's in the next realm. Be an
Hmm.
angel then.
Hmm. Yes. Do you feel like you receive those breadcrumbs more in one way than the other? Like, do you feel like you hear things in your head or see things or feel things? What's the strongest for you?
That's a great question. I would say probably hear things like, if you watch when we talk, I'll look around, and
Mm-hmm.
usually because if I'm staying focused with you, I'm very in tune with you and I'll be
Mm-hmm.
with you. But if I look off, I can usually pick up other things. I just had a baby a year ago, and I was getting checked when you are in active labor. They'll check you before they
Mm-hmm.
admit you. And she said, oh my God, you're 6 centimeters. I've never seen someone so peaceful. And I said, every time I have a contraction, these little voices come into my head and they say, Chelsea, hi, Chelsea, stay with us, Chelsea. It's okay, come here. And if I look and I just lean into those voices, I don't
Yeah.
feel anything. But when I
Wow.
come back here, I'm like, get me out of here. And so I thought that's so interesting. And it probably sounds crazy to some people. They're like, oh, you're hearing voices. A lot of times people hear voices in their head, okay? But that to me is like those polls. And I
Hmm.
think play with it. I think
Hmm.
my encouragement for people is set aside a weekend, a day where, like, today I want to be open to my intuition and I want to
Hmm.
freely access it and allow myself to see how would it show up if I was like fully in there. And maybe that means you're walking and someone's relative visits you and in a spiritual way, and they're like, hey, that person, and you have to decide, am I going to be that crazy person that walks up and says like, hey, your grandma just wanted to say hi, she loves and misses you, and that person's going to cry, or not? And you can say, no, I don't want to be that person. You can close off that gate and you can decide not to have that. However, if you want to say yes, there's our ways to lean into that. And so I think the beauty is to be able to be playful and to try on all the different ways. I'll usually tell people, like, put your hand up in front of a white wall and just look at your hand, and then look at the space between the fingers when your eyes get blurry, and then ask, like, which color is this? Do you hear a color? Do you feel it? I feel like it's green. Or do you see green? Okay, so now let me ask, what does her energy look like? And let that do the same process. Okay, well, now you're reading your intuition. Is it showing up hearing, feeling, seeing? Now let's work on the one you're not comfortable with.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so I think it's fun. I work with them all, and I just kind of, I guess, like, when you feel that extra vibration or like weirdness or pull, that's like, okay, this is showing up however it's meant to show up. What about you? What's your strong one?
Oh, feeling.
Feeling.
Yeah, I think learning more, like you said, and kind of being playful with them and then leaning into the ones that I wasn't as comfortable with has really helped, because I didn't realize in the past I would constantly say, "Oh, I feel this. I feel like this is green. I feel like this is the," and I was always using the word feeling. And a lot of times people, especially people that I was working with, they were like, "Well, it's not really about feeling." And I'm like, "All I can tell you is this is how I feel." And I didn't realize that was my, yeah, clairsentience. Because I can feel people's energy. I can feel the energy of a room even when there's no people in it. And so that really was so validating when I finally realized, oh, this is what I've been trying to communicate with people is, yeah, my feeling. It's very much, I think, feeling first. And then I don't think I've realized too how clairaudient I am, hearing messages and songs or what people say. Yeah.
Yes. And
Hmm.
I always, like, I'll be like, write down all your spiritual experiences. Like,
Yeah.
write them down, because to have a log of them when you are in that hesitation or questioning
Yes.
only breeds more confidence.
Yes.
And I oftentimes talk about, like, hey, any ancient civilization believes in most spiritual powers. Like,
Hmm.
there's a common thread from the Egyptians to the Christians, the
Hmm.
Catholics, Kabbalah, Native American, all of them have like the ability to communicate telepathically, the
Hmm.
ability to lay hands on each other.
Hmm.
There's like a series of them. So, like, learning that, I think, gives you more confidence to that. This
Hmm.
isn't weird. This is
No,
just,
it's not brand
this has
new.
always been taught. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not brand new. It was forgotten for a while, or
It
maybe not
was.
practiced or like mainstream, which I think is good because it gives you that respect and reverence.
Hmm.
You have to not just be trying to feed your ego,
Hmm.
and you have to work for it. And I think that's important to learn that respect. I think that's a beautiful
Hmm.
pathway to
Hmm.
get to reawaken to those
Yeah.
beautiful aspects of the human life.
Yeah. I love that exercise with the hand. I've done that myself, but I haven't thought about having other people do it to kind of gauge how they feel their intuition or how they see, hear it, whatever it is. That's a
Yeah,
great one.
it's
Yeah.
fun. And even just having different people sit against the wall, or I'll do, like, they bring each other into, like, everyone picks someone that's sick in their life,
Hmm.
write it down. What do their eyes look like? What do their hair looks like? Male, female, where's the sickness? And
Hmm.
then, all right, now pair with somebody you've never really connected with.
Hmm.
Okay, now go into your space and bring in each other's people. Who do you see? And then they write
Wow.
it down, and then they get up and they share. And most of the time it's like right online, like
Wow.
everyone's like, oh my gosh, they're all crying, they're sharing. And same with just energy work. I'll be like, okay,
Yeah.
partner up, go to their feet, feel their feet, what do you feel? Like, go to their head, feel their head, what do you feel? And they have profound experiences, and it's like,
Hmm.
I'm not certifying them in anything
Yeah.
along that lines. I'm not really even teaching them how to do it.
Hmm.
I'm just
Hmm.
cueing
Just
them
playing
on
with it.
how to move around it, and then, like, okay, just share it with no filter, just to see, like,
Hmm.
and who cares, you're wrong. You're like, I felt there was something on your right knee, and they're like, there wasn't. Like, great, okay, maybe it's your own right knee, who cares, but
Yeah.
every time other things come up and they're right, and then again, that's like, okay, there's something deeper here, there's something
Yeah.
happening. And I
Oh,
love
it's so
seeing that.
empowering.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
empowering to
Mm-hmm.
remember, and it's connecting.
Mm-hmm.
It's realizing that, you know what, you're not in this alone. We are all
Mm-hmm.
connected in such a deep, beautiful way. And if we can remember that, I think we will have more respect with how we treat each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that shows up and allows you to get more open and to go further into yourself because you feel safe in your community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's huge. So
It's
where's
super huge.
most, yeah, where's most of your I'm like, Margaret, you just interrupted her. So like
I
I'm
love
like
you. You're
my
amazing.
brain's like,
No,
get on
you're
the
fine.
next question.
Yeah.
Because
Get to it.
I personally want to know too, where's most of your energy focused right now? Do you have something that you're growing in your business that you could tell us about, or what's bringing you the most joy?
Oh, I mean, as you know, we just jumped on a little earlier. We're talking about the most joy is just watching my little
Yeah.
tiny baby pick raspberries off my parents' raspberry bushes that I transplanted to my yard. Like that to me is just the most magical thing. So I love my family, and with that I have the reins of like, oh, I got this great business idea. And like, pull yourself back. Oh, I really want to buy this business and like turn it around and make it this way. Pull yourself. You have plenty of time to do that, honey. Let's. And I joke with people like, God must really wanted me to be grounded because he just keeps giving me babies. And so he's just like, you need to sit down and just be living. So I think this is a great season for my family. We have a 1 year old. We have a 4 year old, an 8 year old, a 12 year old, a 15 year old. So every milestone in life we're in right now on the daily. So I love to pour into them. I love to be with my kids. And on the side of that, like the 2 days I get to go to work, the 3 days I go to work, I love it.
Yeah.
My five-year plan would be really moving into the schools. I've been working with the tribes, and they're super on the path of like health and wellness already. I love the Tulalip tribe is just doing so much for their people, and it's incredible. But the school systems, I feel like there's a big opportunity there. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think we could use a lot of mindfulness, a lot of practices with children of just tuning into themselves and feeling confident to
Oh
communicate.
yeah. Oh wow, that would be amazing to have you in schools or doing
Well,
programs with
and
schools.
I've done it for my first business ever was TCIB, Transforming Caterpillars into Butterflies, was a nonprofit, and I raised money, and then I would go to schools and I would teach yoga. And it had been like a girl I graduated with was working in Seattle, so she brought me to her school. The
Hmm.
alternative school I graduated from, they let me go there. The high school where I'm from, they let me go there. So I would go and I would teach about breath work, meditation, and I would bring them gifts like candles and journals and candy. And it was great. It was wonderful. Eventually, then I started working with teachers and teaching them the tools to teach the kids. So if the kids were getting out of hand, they can find some breath or affirmations or mindfulness to bring them back. And that was great. And then sorry, ripped out my ear. Then had babies and started a business. But I think to circle back into work alongside them in a different way would
Hmm.
be,
Hmm.
I think teachers deserve peace of mind, and being trained to play with their nervous systems would be
Hmm.
very beneficial. So one day I would like to do that, or send someone to do that. Maybe it's just my idea and I give them the manuscript
Oh
and
yeah.
just work with the schools and the behind the scenes and then send people into the industry.
I love that.
Yeah, that's where my heart is for sure.
Okay.
Schools are a big place for growth and wellness, and I love kids. I'm like the person that's sees people walking and I'm like, oh my god, their baby's so cute, like, can I see your baby? What's her name? I just love, our neighbors just had a baby and I'm like constantly like
Oh.
throwing food over the fence to them to like try to brag them to let me see their baby or something.
Oh my God, you'd be a fabulous neighbor. Yes,
Yeah, no, I am.
totally.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's
Well, is there
important.
anything else that you want to share with us today? I appreciate everything that we've talked about feels totally right.
Absolutely. No, I agree. I think just any words of advice would be, do the work. Do the work to feel
Yeah.
safe in your body and to get a grip on your mind so it doesn't have a grip on you. And know that
Hmm.
you are so powerful, you are so worthy, you are so adored, and you deserve to be truly happy. There's communities out there doing the work together, and there's safe spaces out there, whether it's you or me. But go where you see, if you see something and oh, this looks interesting,
Yeah.
sign up and go, or call a friend if you need a friend to go with you,
Yeah.
because there's so much magic in this world that oftentimes goes below the surface for people.
Mm-hmm.
And
I love that.
I just want everybody to live their best life.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have that same calling. We resonate there.
Totally do. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, cool. Well, I like to end each episode with what's your current I love it when for the world or for yourself right now?
I love it when my life flows effortlessly together for the highest and best good for all.
Beautiful.
Thank you. What's your current I love it when?
I love it when I get to connect with you. I think it's been too long since the last time. And I love that I also get to share a bit of you and your energy and what you're doing with the people listening, because I think what you just said, it's a really good reminder that there are communities that are out there doing the work. It's just putting your eyes out there and finding what you're pulled to and allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to feel good and to find people to do it with. So I love that reminder.
Absolutely. Yes. And hopefully I see you again soon, the two of us.
I'm sure we will.
Yes.
Well, thank you
so much. Thank you.